Well, I'm standing here with Pastor Garrett Lear. Am I saying that right still? The Patriot Pastor.
Yes.
From New Hampshire.
It's still me.
And yes, you're still way up there. I have to hold the camera way up to videotape you.
Well,
you can look all the way down on my bald head.
Well, that's why God gave us the cameras with tilting screens.
Yes. Like many people, I agree with you on a lot of things and don't agree with you on a few things. And it's always funner to talk about the things you don't agree on than the ones you do agree on. But you're something of a constitutionalist, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not. But I do, of course, think the federals they'd be better off following it than not following it. And I guess the issue, though, that we have a disagreement on is immigration. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. And you were telling me that you support the Arizona law. Why is that?
Well, because I believe that the federal government or the national government, and we know we've got the confusion between what is federal and anti-federal, that's sort of swapped places over the years, that our national government should be protecting our national borders. That is a constitutional mandate of those provisions of the preamble, for example. They're not doing it. And it's obvious by the people in Arizona, and I've been there and I've checked it out personally, that they're not protecting the border. So the border that is Arizona's, which happens to be contiguous with the national border, the governor should be protecting, because harm is coming to the people of Arizona from an illegal invasion. I know that we can go into sympathy mode and say, well, these are poor people coming from another country. It's been found out that it isn't just poor migrant workers that are looking for a better life in America, and even if it was, it still means they're breaching the border, they're breaking our law, and we know, as an American citizen, I'm saying, what law can I break if they can break into our country?
Well, there are 75,000 pages of federal law as of 2004, I think.
That's
so
true.
There are a lot of really bad laws, the victimless crime laws. Whether illegal immigration is totally victimless, I'm not going to claim that it automatically is. But I guess my concern is that if you want smaller government, how can you possibly get to it through more government? And the Arizona law addresses a real problem, but it does it by boosting the police state. Is that the appropriate approach?
Well, I wouldn't categorize it that way. I don't think it's boosting a police state for a state government and a governor to function in their rightful authority according to their state constitution, according to our national constitution. It's not asking for more law enforcement or whatever else. I mean, as the governor of Arizona, she can call out the National Guard, and she could protect her border that way, because they're supposed to be under the governors, even though with the Dick Act of 1903, we know that the National Guard got changed in their role. So I don't think that that's making government bigger. It's making government do what government's supposed to do in protecting the people.
I'm not sure. See, isn't there going to be an expense, though, isn't there a taxpayer expense associated with enforcing this law? And isn't taxpayer expense associated with bigger government?
Well, the taxpayer expense, we all have expenses. I mean, those can't be avoided. And this is a reasonable expense, one that was expected. I mean, our founding fathers expected this kind of expense in national defense and a variety of other type things. So it's a worthwhile expense. Is it going to increase the cost? No, I don't think it is, because we already have law enforcement there, and all we have to do is untie their hands and let them do what they're supposed to do.
That sounds so dangerous, though. I mean, did you hear what you just said?
Yeah.
Untying the hands of law enforcement? Do you know how dangerous cops already are?
That's
especially
true.
in Arizona.
That's true. I mean, I can't deny the fact that there are cops that are outside of their judicial authority, or I should say out of their, what they call law enforcement instead of being peace officers, but there are sheriffs there.
They're wild men in some cases. They're crazies. Arpaio is like the biggest menace to human life in that area.
Okay, well then we're left with one other resource. Don't people have the right to protect themselves?
There you go.
And as far as I'm concerned, if somebody comes to my house and tries to break into my house to harm me and harm my wife, I have an unalienable right that I've been endowed by my Creator to self-defense. I don't wait for the police to do that, and I don't want to see an expanded police presence. I don't want to see more military. We've got enough of a standing army already, and I am somebody that served in the U.S. Army, as my family has, from throughout the history of America. I don't want to see that expanded, but somebody has to be able to say, okay, these people have come onto my farm or my ranch, they're killing my cattle, I have the right to protect myself and protect my property.
Yeah.
So all right, instead of untying the hands of law enforcement, which I never liked the word law enforcement, untie the hands of the people.
Okay, there we go. We can
The
work with
Second
that.
Amendment right, which right to have and to bear arms, which has been misunderstood. So
Yeah.
I do consider that to be the better thing, but I also recognize that there is a rightful place for different branches in the civil government. Unfortunately, they've gotten out of
you give them
line.
one rightful place, they'll take all the unrightful ones.
Well, that's part of the reasons why in the Constitution, I believe that our founding fathers said, let's tie their hands up with the chains of the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson said that.
Yeah, I'd like to tie them up with the Articles of Confederation instead.
Well, that's fine with me too.
Yeah.
You won't have an argument from me with that. The Articles of Confederation were just fine as far as I was concerned, but some of our founding fathers, James Madison one and a few others, felt that because things were a little different, and most Americans don't even know about the quasi-war with France right after what happened with Great Britain. So, I mean, obviously we had enemies out there who were going to enterprise, not only outside of our country, but inside the country, who had their different issues. So, I mean, these things are not easy problems to deal with, but certainly there is a place for rightful civil government, and that's one of the reasons why we say let's keep it defined, let's make sure it stays within its realm.
Well, that's a destination we're both heading. We'll probably get off on different spots at the different train stops, but it's good to be headed in that direction with you.
Well, Dave, all I can tell you is I appreciate what you're doing, and I certainly uphold your right to defend yourself from being attacked, and I hope you would do the same for me, and I will watch your back, and I pray you will watch mine too.
Well, thank you. My camera's my gun. You take care out there.
All right.
Matey. Matey. Arr. Arr. Matey. Matey.